morning slowly rose, with me waking to see Damien's sleeping face. As I slowly sat up, I felt the ache of the morning wreck through me, demanding that I go back to sleep. However, I knew better. I knew that the day had to continue forward, and that I had to wake up. Still, seeing Damien fast asleep made me feel a bit relieved. He certainly needed the sleep more than I did. Oh boy! A very faint knock rapped at the door, causing me to look up and see Diana enter with 2 plates of warm food. As she stepped in, she looked at me and tilted her head.
Up again before him?
I nodded and rubbed the back of my neck, grinning a bit.
I guess I've gotten used to demon route time.
Ha 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 ha! Diana laughed a bit before placing the food she held on the table nearby and crossed her arms.
I see. Well, if you could, please wake Damien up. I have something I must speak to you two about.
Oh?
Huh? What is it?
Diana grimaced and looked away from me, staring at the ground and avoiding my gaze.
It would be best if both of you heard my news.
Oh,
Please,
that's
just
not
wake up.
ominous at all. I nodded and looked down at Damien, seeing him slightly stir against my body before I placed my hands on his shoulders and kissed his cheek.
Damien, wake up.
Kiss his
Kiss
cheek
his cheek.
again.
Said. I giggled a bit and kissed his cheek again, nuzzling his temple with my nose.
Come on, Diana's here and wants to talk to us.
Damien stirred a bit more, finally opening his eyes and yawning from being awoken. As he looked up at me, I smiled down at him, earning a tired smile back.
Morning.
Morning.
And Damien slowly sat up, stretching his arms over his head before shaking his head and looking to Diana, taking in that she was in the room.
Good morning.
You have to also remember that I'm the same person who keeps thinking he's naked every time. Damien only nodded before leaning back against the bedposts, relaxing against them as he looked to me. I turned my head to Diana and gestured for her to speak.
So what is it?
Diana looked down at the floor, trying to find the answers in the wooden grain. I became more curious as to what Diana was about to reveal the longer the silence in the air lingered. What was the important new, one singular new, she had to say? When Diana formulated her answer, she looked up at me and Damien, taking in a breath.
I may have found a way to perform a reverse ritual.
What does that mean?
A what?
Clearly it means something.
Diana ran her hands through her hair and locked her gaze to me, obviously more comfortable with speaking to me than to my fiancé.
Long ago, when this world was forged, there was a human named Lilith, who was transformed into a demon and was brought to this world. It had been known ever since that any human who wished to be a demon, or is punished to be one, can very much
So
become
basically they want to twilight us and turn us into a demon, instead of a vampire?
No, she's gonna... I think what she's saying is she found this spell, and presumably can find a way to do the spell in reverse so that it works to turn a demon to a human.
Oh.
Okay, so are you saying that...
Diana nodded slowly, bringing her hands to her stomach and fiddling over her fingers.
It took me some sleepless nights.
Good.
But I do believe I can perform a reverse ritual, which would, in essence, turn a demon into a human.
My heart stopped. It was possible now?
How are you sure?
I could hear the twinge of sour strain in Damien's voice. He was right to be skeptical. After all, she had failed to turn him human before. What was to say that this wasn't going to be a failure as well? Diana shook her head and lowered her head to her sides.
I'm not. Nothing like this has ever been done before, and it could be risky. Hell, you could even die
Hooray!
from
That's
this.
bad.
What?
I instantly stood up from the bed, making Diana turn her gaze at me in shock. this could kill Damien. There was no way in hell I was going through with this if she was suggesting such a thing.
Then what are you suggesting?
I'm suggesting that it's an option. A risky one, but an option nonetheless.
Diana turned her eyes to Damien, seeing him straighten up in bed and gaze back at her with a serious expression.
I know that what I did back then was wrong. My intent was to make you as human as possible. But there was no method to even do that until now. If this works, you will become human. I swear on my family name.
So, thoughts. Stay silent or interject?
Why would well, here's the thing. Why would I interject? Like, it's his decision.
Yeah, I feel like we should let him decide without making him worry about being accepted for his decision.
Yeah.
Stay silent?
Yeah, let's just stay silent. It wasn't my place to speak or not. This whole situation was dangerous, but it was ultimately up to Damien. To be human or to be demon, that was something he had to decide. Oh, I hit the save button by accident. Whoops. I loved Damien no matter what. I looked over at Damien and watched him look back over to me, a glimmer of hope in his eyes. I could tell what he wanted, but would he ask me anything? Would I have a say?
Why wouldn't you have a say?
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Oh my god. Before my eyes, the world around me froze, and I was shut in a room of darkness, everything barely tinted in shadow.
What?
I'm so sick of this. I looked around, feeling stuck to my spot, as a dark laughter echoed around the room.
It would be so selfish of him to become
it
human
is.
without
Time
considering your
reference.
feelings first. Wouldn't you agree?
No, I would not agree.
Oh.
I would be upset if he didn't consider that I would be devastated if he died. But
Yeah.
about human, no, I think it's up to him. What do you want now?
I'm just
Even Laundry's
stating what's
annoyed.
deep in your heart. Nothing more.
What do you mean?
Don't tell me I have to spell it out, dear. Damien turning human? He'd lose all of his powers. He'd be worthless, weak, and simple.
I'm gonna kill you.
I'm so not.
But what if that's what he wants?
Do you even know what he wants?
No, because we're not communicating!
Oh my god. The memory of my wedding day flashed before my eyes. The voice was telling the truth. Did I really know what Damien wanted? Was anything he wanted for the best? Why do I always talk in questions? The voice chuckled deeply, a relaxation settling into my core.
Now you're
I remained
getting it.
silent, now lost once again. What was best? What if turning Damien human meant destroying who he was? I became trapped in an endless cycle of questions and confusion as the voice finally vanished and let the world continue on its journey forward in time.
You do not have to decide now, but I will be awaiting your answer if you do wish to try.
Thank you.
Diana nodded before leaving the room, most likely to prepare for the day. Damien and I stood in silence, me lost from the voice in my head, and Damien lost in his own thoughts. What were we supposed to do? The option was now on the table, but instead of Diana sleeping with Damien, there was a chance that Damien could lose his life. Tragic. I wasn't sure where I stood on the issue, but I didn't like the options I was given before and now. Was it better to just leave Damien a demon? Was it worth dying to become human? The voice in my head teased me, prodding me to convince Damien to think against himself, but my heart knew the choice was his alone. As I looked to him, I could see the conflict in his eyes while he stood and took up both of the breakfast plates Diana made for us. He walked to me at last and handed me one, looking into my eyes and locking our gazes on each other. Was he going to ask me? Was he going to keep the choice to himself?
Selfish.
Shut the fuck up.
Shellfish. I mentally flinched at the word shellfish, as I'm allergic to shellfish.
No, you're not.
Hearing it ring in my heart. I'm not, I know. However, as Damien turned and sat down at the edge of the bed, I watched as he let out a sigh before starting to eat. Fuck. Back. I guess the choice was fully going to be his own, whether I liked it or not.
Can't we at least, discuss it so that I know what you're thinking and feeling?
Can we, talk? You know? Like people do? Like people in relationships do? In healthy relationships? Where you talk? We ate in silence until he left for his training and I headed for my own. Never had I felt such strain and worry pull at my heart until that moment. I needed to work it out. We got to work this out. We can all get together if we work it out. Okay. As I arrived in the hall for training, I was surprised to see Diana in the room instead of Sarah.
Diana?
Diana turned to me and crossed her arms, taking in my form.
You will be training with me today. I apologize for Sero's absence.
Oh, what happened?
What do you mean? Where's Sero?
He asked to train on his own for the day. As he will be in the front lines of the siege, I granted him permission.
I pressed my lips together into a fine line, but nodded. He was charging at the front. Then it made sense that he'd want to take a day and work on himself. I held my hand out and summoned my weapon, ready to fight the queen of the rebellion head-on.
All right, then don't hold back.
Diana nodded and prepped her stance, summoning her saber and bringing it back behind her. I had to use this new training partner as a new experience. Not everyone would fight like Seto, so this was a good challenge for me. Fighting with Diana was no easy task. She was quick and thought 10 steps ahead of me, catching me off guard at some points. Still, I could tell that I was putting up a good fight with my defense. What surprised me was how time passed by without me even noticing it. The more I clashed with Diana, the more ignorant I became of the sky's eventual descent from light purple to dark orange. Soon enough, our training had ended. I panted out of breath, but surprisingly still on my feet. I think they fucked up the order. It went from dark orange to light purple.
Wait, what?
He asked...
They said that the sky changed from light purple to dark orange, but it did the opposite. Anyway.
Oh, huh. Weird.
Just a mistake, I guess. I didn't understand how or why, but I could only assume that I was getting better, which was a good thing. Diana smirked as she relaxed, stretching back and making her saber vanish.
I will admit, dear, you've done well for just a handful of days.
I grinned, happy to hear that I had impressed Diana with my skills. I only trained for a couple of days, but showed great improvement. Maybe the demon world was aiding in me becoming a stronger person.
Thank you, Diana.
Diana nodded and walked toward the exit of the room.
Now, please excuse me. I must see to the boys. You are free to
I
come
declined
with if
and
you'd
left
like.
the room as well, towards the opposite direction, feeling my bed calling me. Besides, I didn't want to be a distraction. As I was heading to my room, I passed by a door that was only open a small crack, overhearing a quiet conversation.
This idea
boy.
is idiotic, guard. Leaving during a war could be considered treason, and you would be abandoning your duties to your mistress.
I know that, but...
Peer in?
Peer in. I stopped walking and peered inside, wanting to see what was going on. Seto was standing steadfast by the large fireplace's shadow, arrogant as ever, loomed over the small table that was covered in maps and books. I'm sorry,
Do
the
you
moment
really
I said
think
shadow, I
quests
thought
like
of
this is
Shadow the
beneficial
Hedgehog
to
and
the
his
war?
color scheme.
All it would do is leave us with one less powerful ally for a significant amount of time.
I would not be gone long. I'd research this.
Yes, I've researched this route multiple times. You've already spouted that more times than I care to appreciate. Regardless, even if things did go your way, and you journey there and back without some form of incident, you would turn up a day before the siege. Your mistress will not likely forgive your absence.
But I have a feeling that this will be worth that absence. If I can do this, if I can prove that my love for her is real.
You are having delusions of grandeur. Love does not exist for us demons. This quest is folly.
You're having delusions of grandeur.
I glared at Shadow. Why was he being such an ass? Seto, however, looked to his feet, gritting his teeth and shutting his eyes.
You came here and asked for my counsel, guard. I am merely telling you the truth of the matter. Whatever hope that human placed in your mind is illogical, and only a detriment to our cause. I hope you take my words into careful consideration. Nothing fruitful will come from this journey you wish to undertake.
As he finished speaking, Shadow faded into a black shadow on the ground and slipped into the dark corner of the library, vanishing from sight completely. Seto growled beneath his gritted teeth and slammed his fist against the mantel behind him, forming a large crack in the stone.
Jeez.
What do we do?
Enter the room?
Okay,
'Cause we're meddling kids.
we are. Shadow was wrong. I can't think of it without Shadow the Hedgehog now. Whatever Seto wanted to do to prove his love for Diana was worth it. I felt my heart agree with my thoughts, with a firm thump in my chest. Taking a deep breath, I opened the door and entered the room. Seto looked up at me with a startled gaze when he heard the door creak as it opened.
Oh,
Seto looked down at the table, embarrassed, while he rubbed the back of his neck.
How long were you there?
Long enough to hear what Shadow said about me.
With a frown, Seto turned his gaze to his feet. As I stepped further into the room, he let out a sigh.
I've been thinking a lot about what we've talked about. You asked me if there was a way to prove my love to Isaiah. Well, there is a way.
Really?
Seto nodded before ushering me over to the table. I walked over and looked at what Seto wanted to show me. A large set of maps all pointing to a single area in the abyssal plains near the ocean.
There's a legend that has been passed around the demon world for eons. The Golden Rose. It's said that if someone finds its hiding place and proves that the love in their heart is real, the rose will blossom and become physical proof of their true love.
Is this legend true?
No one can say for sure. No one has ever found it, yet the legend exists, so it must have some form of merit. I've tried for years to find its location, and now I have.
Seto pointed at a hand-drawn circle on the map and glided his finger along the map towards the area where the rose was said to be.
It would only take me 2 days to get there and to return. If the story is true, then I'm positive I can find it and bring it back to Isaiah as proof of my love.
Aww. As Seto finished, his smile darkened to a sad grimace.
However, I have been advised against this journey, and for good reason. I would be abandoning my lady days before the final battle, and that alone could be considered treason. Even more so, would she forgive me for leaving at such a crucial time?
Ooh. I looked at Seto's face, seeing the conflicting emotions running through his eyes as he stared at the maps in front of us. Was it really worth it?
Still, this may be my only chance to do this. When we win this war, my lady will require me to be by her side more so than ever. I must be there to support her at all times when she rebuilds this broken world, but I would lose the chance to prove my love to her.
I didn't know what to say in response. While I wanted him to do what he felt was right, there were so many things that could go wrong. What if the legend was false? He'd be gone for nothing and come back empty-handed? What if something happened while he was away? He wouldn't be able to return in time to help. Or what if something happened to him on his journey? He wasn't invincible. I closed my eyes, trying to figure out what to say to him. When I realized what I wanted to say, I spoke up. Oh boy. Should he stay or should he go?
You should go. I believe!
Seto really loved Diana. It was plain as day, and if she wasn't persuaded yet from his words and dedication, this journey would convince her. It was worth the risk if he was really in love with her. She was strong enough to handle things on her own for a while Seto was away. Seto looked at me in surprise as I smiled at him.
If this will prove your love to her, then you should find the rose and give it to her. Whatever the risk is, if you believe it's worth it, then do it.
Something in Sedo's eyes glistened, as if a spark had been ignited, and the hope in his heart began to burn with joy. A smile grew onto his face as he nodded, now determined.
You're right. I'll leave tonight and come back with the rose, even if it's the last thing I do.
Okay.
I grinned. Okay. I grinned widely. I was happy for him. To see Sedo so determined to prove his love filled my soul with joy. As he stepped towards me, I watched as he wrapped his arms around me, giving me a friendly hug.
I hope you're happy now that you're choosing this.
Thank you for your help. I
I hope so too.
You got
You got
this.
this. You got it, dude.
You got this, baby.
I smiled and hugged him back, patting his back. At my words, he squeezed me tighter before letting go. Sedo nodded to me before rushing out of the library, most likely to set off on his journey as quickly as possible. He needed all the time he could get. I, however, felt my heart give an approving thud in my chest. I had done the right thing. It raised a question, however. Would I have done the same for the one I love? After a brief moment, I nodded to myself, yes, I would have. I left the library and headed towards my room, now filled with determination of my own.